going to change gears here now. We're going to be talking with Troy Connor, commercial account manager with McCall Services. Troy started in the pest management industry with Varmint Guard Environmental Services in Columbus, Ohio, in March of 2009 as a pest and wildlife specialist. In June of 2009, he transferred to ProGuard Commercial Pest Solutions, the commercial division of Varmint Guard, where he served as a commercial account executive until June of 2011. In July of 2012, Connor became a commercial account manager with McCall Services, and his specialties include pest and nuisance wildlife management in the hospitality industries. Troy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody.
Now, tell me a little bit more about McCall Services, their coverage areas, and the services that they offer.
McCall Service is a pest management company that is headquartered in Jacksonville. We have offices also in Tallahassee, Gainesville, Ocala, and of course here in Tampa, which is the office I work out of. We are pest management professionals that offer residential, lawn, commercial, and wildlife pest solutions. And one other that we have been getting into and getting more and more requests for is pest birds.
Now what is that?
Pest birds.
Pest birds, where one flies into your house and you can't get rid of it?
Well, that can be an extreme example, but more frequently you find it at residences where they are on the beach. They have problems with seagulls that are leaving droppings everywhere, and people want solutions to try and keep those away from them to get it off the roofs so that they don't have the problem.
Is there a certain type of bird that you see the most problems with?
Seagulls, as I mentioned, is one. The others are typically starlings. They are something that hang around and give a great deal of problems. The third kind, not usually at residents unless it's older homes, you'll have problems with pigeons.
What is the process for capturing the birds? I mean, is there a different process for different birds, or do you just kind of hang out there with a net?
There's a lot of different techniques. Usually what we're trying to do is find a way to exclude the birds or discourage them from being present. Spikes are something that discourage them from landing. There are also traps that can be used, both with food and water, that you trap them and remove them from the property. Those are some of the more typical and quickest solutions.
Very interesting. And your company also specializes in commercial in addition to residential business as well, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about the pests problem that we have here in Florida. The Florida climate obviously promotes this type of problem. Tell me a little bit about how that applies to the pests that we have here in Florida.
Well, as you mentioned, I came out of Ohio where we do have severe winters. When you start moving further and further south, even northern Florida has a difference to the climate that we deal with here, and that climate lends to the pests having everything they need year-round. So there's not a freeze or something that really kills off the pests, the ants, the roaches, that you will see in other climates. And that is what causes a need here to have year-round protection. Other places will tell you that you need year-round protection. It is a good idea, but here in Florida, what you end up having is there is never really a time period where the pests are at a low. You do have some highs when the rainy season starts, as it has now. I can assure you my phones at the corporate office are ringing off the hook with ant problems because the ants are being chased out of the ground and into people's houses, which we'll be happy to help you out with. Mm-hmm. But, it's always an ongoing problem. There's never a time period where things slow down. There's always a pest that's in season like that.
Now, you worked up in Ohio. Was there a certain pest that was problematic up in Ohio that you don't see down here, or what are some of the differences between here and up north?
Actually, it would be more the opposite. We did have all the same pests in Ohio as you have here. I also worked in Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Michigan, dealt with a lot of different pests, but the pressures here, I had to learn all kinds of new ants, and as I was talking with you a little bit about previously, termites, drywood termites I did not have to deal with in Ohio. It's just not a prevalent thing there, nor are Formosan termites, which are a type of subterranean that we might want to talk a little bit more about.
Now, the ants that we have here in Florida, what type of ants are they, and what are the most problematic, and how do you treat for those?
The most problematic ants that I usually see are the white-footed ant is one. A lot of them are the smaller, tiny ants, and I could give you lots of other technical names, but everybody around here calls them sugar ants. Ghost ants fall into that category too. They're very difficult to treat, get rid of. The reason is they have multiple queens, and what that means is if you spray some Raid, for example, and put it down, what you've done is created a barrier, and you've killed those ants that you see, but unfortunately, there may be 2 sets of ants on each side of that line that you created, and now you have 2 colonies that are developing instead of 1, and it can get worse to where you have 3, 4, 5 colonies. You need to have a very good approach to it. We use an approach called integrated pest management, which involves a lot of inspection and treating specifically for the pest problem that is there, not just throwing down any chemical. We want to be environmentally responsible and treat for the pest with a chemical or a product, a pesticide that is specifically for that pest. It may be an outside approach, it may be an inside approach, it may be both. I recently had a problem at my own home with ghost ants, and it involved not only treating the foundation of the home, but also getting into the attic and treating with a dust to try and eliminate them. It was a very challenging situation, and I myself am in pest control, know what I'm doing. A homeowner is going to have a real challenge if they're trying to do it on their own with products.
How long does it take to get rid of typical ants? Is this an extended treatment process?
Typically speaking, you can get them under control within a week, but it may be something that needs ongoing treatment after that to ensure that they don't return. But it's typically going to be within a week. Now,
another pest in the Florida area that is hard to treat are spiders. And I've been told that a lot of chemicals, there's really no easy way to treat spiders. Can you elaborate on that?
Spiders are different than your other pests. The way they are anatomically, they don't really clean themselves. They don't have the pores in other areas. So you basically, in order to kill a spider with majority of the pesticides that are available, you have to hit the spider itself, or you have to hit the eggs or the nest. If they walk across a pesticide a day or 2 later, most pesticides that are on the market are not going to have any effect on that spider. One of the most effective things you can do, and it can sometimes be a regular thing, is actually take your broom and knock down their nest and remove them. The other thing is, why are they in that area? Lights are something that attract flying insects, and that's where the spiders will build their webs around. So you may want to look at using a different type of lighting than your standard incandescent light. There are other light bulbs out there. You can go to Lowe's, Home Depot, whoever you want, any hardware store, and talk to them, and they will help you out in being able to find products that are less likely to attract the flying insects, which will reduce your spider problem.
Yeah, I just found that interesting because I know when I moved into the property that I live in now, I bought a foreclosed property that had sat vacant for about 4 years, and in every of the creases and corners of the home, there were just all these tiny little spiders throughout the entire home. And when I inquired with pest control experts, they pretty much said, you just got to make direct contact with them. And so I ended up taking a vacuum cleaner around the entire home and just kind of sucking them all up. And for the first month or so, I was finding spiders all over this home. Fortunately, nothing too big or too scary, just those tiny little things. But yeah, they're very resilient to any type of treatments that are out there on the market today. Now, you also mentioned another problem here in the Florida area, bed bugs. Tell me a little bit about bed bugs.
Bed bugs are a problem that have made a resurgence. They have been slower to show up in Florida than they have some other areas. New York, actually, Cincinnati, Ohio was one very prevalent area. LA, there are a lot of other areas that seem to have a huge problem, but people traveling spread those quickly, and obviously we have lots of travelers here. Bed bugs are something that can easily come into your home. They are hitchhikers. They don't naturally occur outside, but they live very well inside. And by hitchhiker, what I mean is if you are on a flight from somewhere, and I don't want to cause everybody to have a huge panic because this isn't a big thing, but it's an example. You're on a flight, your luggage is laying in the cargo hold with other people's luggage, and somebody else has bed bugs. They'll crawl right off of that luggage onto yours. You get 2 or 3, enough to breed, take them home with you, and suddenly you have a problem also.
And just because they're called bed bugs doesn't mean they're only found in the bed. You can find them anywhere throughout the home, correct?
That is correct. Very frequently we'll find them in sleeper sofas. We'll find them a lot of times along the tack strip of the floor. They are something that can be found throughout, but they do definitely cause issues for homeowners.
How do you distinguish them between others? Like if I saw one, I might call it a flea or something. How do you distinguish a bed bug from other pests?
Bed bugs are actually larger than fleas. Their young may be the size of a flea, but they have 5 stages, and the adults are about the size of an apple seed. They're a brown to red color, depending upon how recently they fed. They are very distinct. They would be more likely to look like a tick. But Google bed bugs, and there's plenty of pictures out there for you to look at. Our website at McCallService.com also has a section on bed bugs. There's something that, the biggest thing I can tell you is if you know you have them, one of the two best times to treat them is when you're moving in or you're moving out, because they can easily be treated while you still have your furniture on the truck, if the fact is that you have it there. Mm-hmm. If it's in the home, it's also a good time because an empty home is much easier to treat than a home that's full of furniture, or worse. We have dealt with situations with hoarders, and that's very difficult and very challenging for any pest control company. But if you move in to some place and suddenly find that you're having bites and other problems, you may want to have somebody come in and check for bed bugs, because that is a common occurrence. Somebody moves out, doesn't tell anybody, especially if you're talking about a foreclosure situation. They're not going to deal with it, but you suddenly start having bites. Bed bugs can go dormant for at least 6 months without having a blood meal. But let me assure you, you show up in that home, you move in, you're going to start getting bites very quickly after that.
That's some great information. Stay tuned here. We're going to be talking more here with Troy Connor here in just a moment. We're going to talk a little bit about termites when we get back from the break. If you're just tuning in, you've been listening to the Jamie Meloni Real Estate Show here on 1250 Wins, WH&Z.
Since opening its doors 120 years ago, Stewart Title Company has established a lasting legacy of providing professional title services. Even other title insurance companies know Stewart Title Company because they do their actual underwriting for them. Stewart is here to provide a wide range of resources to help improve any real estate transaction. To learn more about protecting yourself against hidden title hazards that may threaten your financial investment, call Melissa Stoddard at 813-431-8025. That's 813-431-8025. Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage want you to experience the thrill of one-day underwriting and the comfort in knowing your loans will be clear to close in record time. While the competition looks to a lost closing date, Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage focus on their 12-day clear to close. They do this by utilizing their world-class operations staff to underwrite your loan within 6 hours, process your loan in 12 days, and have your loan closed in time. Underwritten in 6 hours, cleared to close in 12 days. Bud Spriggs and Movement Mortgage.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
You're listening to the Jamie Meloni Real Estate Show with local expert Jamie Meloni. Now, here's Jamie.
Hi again, everybody. Thanks for staying tuned in to the Jamie Meloni Real Estate Show here on 1250 Wins, WH&Z. I invite you to tune in every Mondays at noon as my show aims to become your information source for the Tampa Bay real estate market. We've been talking with Troy Connor here, Commercial Account Manager with McCall Services, all about the different types of pests and the ways to treat and handle them here in Florida. I want to talk a little bit now about the different types of termites, because that's definitely a big problem in the Florida communities. Tell me a little bit about the different types of termites and some more information about those.
Be happy to. The two main types of termites that you're going to deal with are drywood termites, which the drywood termites, what they are a termite that is above ground. You usually will find them in furniture or in other wood around the home, around windowsills, around door frames, but most likely they're up in your attic as well, and a good inspection will find that evidence. But
are they the ones with the wings that the termite inspectors are looking for?
All termites, as well as some ants, will have wings. Mm-hmm. The wings on ants are very different than the wings on termites, and that's how a good professional, but even your average person, if you take a good solid look, the wings on flying ants will look more like a fly itself, whereas the wings on termites will have two sets that are very rounded. Both sets of wings are the same length, and they're rounded. That's one of the easiest ways to tell if you're dealing with a termite versus an ant. That's
interesting. I never knew an ant had wings, so that's something I just learned right now. So that's a very interesting point there.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I can help, and hopefully some others, because it right now is that season. Both ants and termites are swarming, and that is one of the first signs. But typically, your swarmers for the drywoods are a little smaller in size, so you're going to see that. But The drywood termites can easily be treated. I say easily, it's with fumigation. It is a long process. It's usually a 3-day process that you tent the property, whether it be a commercial property or a residence. You tent it. You're introducing a gas that will kill pretty much everything. And when I say everything, that includes humans, dogs, birds, so you don't leave anything behind. It will also kill other insects that are in there. With the exception of bed bugs, because you have to use 3 times as much gas to kill bed bugs as you do termites, but as a side note. But it will pretty much kill everything else in the property and anything that's above ground. And that's an important distinction because subterraneans, just by the name itself, the subterranean termites are below ground. They do come up into the house, but their nests are actually in the ground, whereas the drywood nest is somewhere in your home or your property.
And so how do you treat the subterraneans? What's the process for treating them?
There are multiple attacks on subterraneans. One of the oldest is what I call trench and treat. You dig a big trench around the exterior of the home or property, and you apply one of the pesticide products that is specifically labeled for termites as a termiticide, and you then backfill around it. Another way is to drill, whether it be into concrete or around the foundation of the home. You drill around, and again, you're injecting. Now, that works really well in most places here in Florida because the ground around here is pretty much sand. Now, you will run into some problems if you run into bedrock or whatever, or if the applicator, which it happens, any company is capable of this happening. If you don't get a good spread, it doesn't create a full barrier, and they find a way through. They're the nature of termites is to continuously forage and look for new food sources.
Now, you mentioned something when we were talking earlier, the new type, or not new type, but another type of termite, the Formosan termite. Tell me a little bit, are these a subterranean type of termite, or drywood, or what?
Formosan termites are a form of subterranean, which it's good that you actually give me a good segue into there is another way to treat subterraneans, and that is a bait station. One brand is Centricon. It happens to be the one that I represent. It was created specifically because of Formosans. Formosans are an extremely aggressive form of subterraneans. They have more soldiers in their colony, and they have a lot more workers that go out, and they are very aggressive. They are something that does a lot of damage very quickly. The bait idea is you're not just creating a barrier. Instead of creating a barrier, you're destroying the entire colony. They find the food source of the bait. They go eat it. They take it back and feed it. Ultimately, what ends up happening is the queen starves to death. The queen dies, the colony dies.
Now, once the termites are treated, what is the likelihood that they return, or does the treatment kind of last for so long, or how does that work?
Well, if you're talking about your typical treatment of trench and treat or other pesticide or termiticide, whichever term you prefer to use, that is simply a barrier. It doesn't actually kill off the entire colony, so it is possible for them to come back. Most companies in this area offer a 10-year warranty with that can then be extended once from the initial treatment. The baiting systems, the Centricon system that I'm mentioning, it has an annual renewal every year, but it is constantly active, always active all the time. So it has had studies done where it's been shown to kill over 3 termite colonies for one property. So it is a very aggressive form and constant protection. The fumigation side, honestly, I can fumigate today, and you can go out and buy a piece of furniture at the used secondhand store that has drywood termites, and you just brought them back in, and there's nothing residual that I've done with a fumigation that's going to keep them from being reintroduced.
I'd like to know about fumigation. So you said that anything that would be in the tent at that moment would just die, right? So how safe is this process when it's over? Like, you remove the tenting around it. Is there any potential chemicals staying in the house? And
that's a very good question.
Okay.
No. If it's done properly, the fumigators are trained. They check the levels. They air it out. There's fans used. There's different methods used to air out the property, but there is no residual chemical on anything in the property. Now, During the process, there are special bags used and other things so that you don't get it on food sources or other things. But once it's done, it's a safe environment to re-enter the home.
Very good.
Which
Thank you.
which of the two are more common or more aggressive? Do you see a difference with regard to that?
This year in particular, I have seen more Formosans showing up. I actually read an article in one of the papers that some of the older homes in St. Pete have had lots of problems, but we are now starting to see the Formosans being introduced out to even the barrier islands. Treasure Island in specific, I have seen issues myself personally and commercial properties. It's something that people need to be aware of, because if I can't stress enough, if you have Formosans, that's one that you make a decision on what you're going to do to treat and who you're going to use right now. It's important that you treat it as quickly as possible. The subterranean termites are very aggressive as well, but you have a little time.
Troy, where does the formescent termites come from? Well, it's a new trend, you say?
They've been around. They are common here. It's just that some areas of the state have had them. They seem to be moving further and further north. It's something that warmer climates promote them, and we've had a lot of weather that we've had some mild winters here recently, and I think that has some effect on allowing them. Now, that's my opinion, not fact, but
right.
That's just my opinion.
And really, termites can affect any home for any reason. It's kind of random, right? There's no one thing other than the wood itself that attracts termites to any particular home, correct?
That's correct. Really here in Florida, especially other areas as well. I mean, you go into the woods, kick over a rotten log, and you'll probably find termites in the log.
Yeah. So just because somebody's home is tented, you don't have to think, that they are running. You have unclean environment or something, which may attract roaches or something. But termites, I've seen them on very low end of extremely high end homes, and they definitely don't discriminate based on value of the homes. That's for sure. So, Troy, thank you very much for coming into the show. A lot of great information today. And before we go off the air real quick, go ahead and give out your contact information for the audience, if you would.
Again, it's www.McCallMCCALLservice.com. And my cell is 813-451-8875. Be happy to help you out with any of your pest management needs.
And you also offer lawn service real quick. I forgot to mention that to the audience as well.
That is correct. We do take care, when we say lawn service, we're talking fertilization and pesticides, where we don't do lawn mowing.
Can you say your number again, Troy?
813-451-8875.
All right. Thank you very much, Troy. And if you didn't catch it.